What's up, tube users? So it's been a while since I made a video on the truck on Ironhide 86 M1009 CUCV. Bits changed since last time I made a video. I think my last really in-depth video was like the 4L80E, and I did one a little while ago about what not to do. But just some things that I've added to the truck. I did an onboard water tank. When we go camping, we'll kind of roll, and there's not a lot of space back here, as you guys probably already know. I could make it fit, but it's extra weight, and I just kind of wanted to go with the water tank to make it a little easier to store it. So there's a 16-gallon water tank. This I do have the exhaust single pipe on the passenger side. It doesn't have the dual exhaust, or there probably wouldn't be room for this, and there was just enough room to put a 16-gallon tank in there. I took measurements. We went off-roading 2-3 times with it already, and luckily I haven't hit. I made sure it was above the bump stop. There's like 2 inches before it would hit the bump stop. The cover that's on there, that aluminum covering, it was just something I had laying around, so I just wrapped it around it to help protect it from any heat from the exhaust on the other side, or any rocks or anything that might hit it, even though it's a pretty durable tank. There's the fill right there. I'm probably going to move this later to inside the truck. And there's also a water pump that I put down here. I'm not sure if I think I made a video on that. Maybe on my Instagram, you guys CUCV _ page. There's a lot more photos and a lot more stuff that I post there. So there's a water pump, and it just pumps from there. There's a little filter. And then out through here, I didn't drill that frame, the hole into the frame, that was already there. And then whenever I want to, I just open this up and then turn the pump on, connect my hose, and I have water. I also have a hot water heater that I got for about 150 bucks. It's made by Camp Chef, the same brand that makes Camp Chef. I think it's called the Triton 5-liter. And all you need is propane, batteries, and water. And that hangs off of this. I also had the exo rack, or whatever you want to call it, made for the soft topper, just because there's stuff that I'd like to throw up there sometimes. Mostly got it for the kayak, so we could fit 2 kayaks up there. I've only done it with 1 so far, but I think there's plenty of room for 2. I added this arm right here that comes out for the shower, or kind of whatever you want to hang up there. So I just undo this bungee. I'll do something more official later. And then undo that bungee. Here, let's see if I do it real quick for you guys. And then pull this pin, kind of just a weighted pin. It was a little short. I was gonna put something to lock in on the bottom, but it's pretty heavy. And then I just pull out the arm, and then boom, hang my shower up there. Of course, if you guys do something like this, your truck is lifted, it might be higher. If it's not lifted, it'll be lower, but this is the perfect height. I'm about 6 foot. That's probably another 1.5 feet up, so it's enough to hang the water heater right there, and I'm usually not right below it when it's hanging anyways. And then you just have your little shower set up, and that's pretty much it. And I didn't have that welded in, but it was a last minute add-on, and my welder got stolen, so I just ended up bolting it in. So excuse me, I don't know what you guys are seeing right now while I'm putting this back together. And the pin just kind of holds in there, not to hold it while it's closed, but when it's open. Soft topper's been great. It's gotten a lot more, it's a lot looser than when I first installed it. It's still tight, there's still no water getting in, but I don't have to fight it when I'm putting it on like I did when I first got it. And it's still pretty clean for the most part. It is easy to clean. I just used a little bit of soap and water. I don't brush the windows because I don't want to scratch it because it's plastic. It's kind of a mess back here. I'll show you guys what I'm doing with it in a minute. I'm not sure if I made a video on that. That was a pretty easy install to make the jerry can holder behind the tire rack. This spare tire carrier, I got it on Craigslist from some guy who just fabs stuff up for his own K5. It's pretty well built, so I got lucky finding that. He was out in Huntington Beach. I don't have his information anymore. And then this was just a square tubing that I put in there, and then I bought this, and I made a little support for it. It looks like it's a little loose from wheeling the last couple months. I should probably tighten that up. Maybe you guys want to see more on the rack up top. So these pads are just for the kayak, and I did notice these pads also helped a little bit at high speeds when it's really windy. Sometimes the soft top flaps a little bit, but this really helps keep that down, these pads. Not something I'd say to do, you know, to keep that down. It's not that bad, but the pads definitely help with that and protecting it when I throw the yak up here. And then I want to do something on the sides or on the top where I could put like a dining table. So when we go camping, not a dining table, but just a table in general, so that when we eat or whatever, so we don't have to do everything off the tailgate. And if I put a table back there, it's just less room inside, and it's more utilizing the outside of the truck instead of just the inside. I think I've showed you guys this before, the snorkel. This is for a 90s FJ, I believe, and early 90s FJ, and it bolts in pretty straight forward. It fits pretty good, but the body of the FJ is more, this is a square body, but it's more square up here, so it comes up more straight, and it's kind of out here, so you do have to pull it in. The bracket that this kit came with was like 3/8 inch thick, so it was a pain in the butt to bend. So I just got a thin aluminum, strong enough to hold it in, but it's more flexible, so the door closes. So yeah, the 3/8, when you close the door, it's really hard to keep the door closed because it's so thick. But the thin aluminum, it kind of just has formed the way it needs to, and door closes no problem now. So what we really got going on here though is 6.2 diesel. I'm going to be throwing on a 6.5 hybrid Banks kit, which isn't really hybrid. I'm just using the intake. I got lucky and I found the intake, the air intake up top instead of removing the whole intake manifold. The turbo, it is a eBay turbo, but it had some really good reviews. It has 2-year warranty, and I'm not going to be running that much boost. I'm going to try and run minimal as possible. It's a, you know, original engine from 1986. So 5 to 8 psi, we'll see how she does, and if she blows, then I'll build her up and do it with you know, better turbo later on. But this is just for now. We're going to be doing a manual turbo master on it. I'll do a detailed video on that later on what that is and why you should have it instead of this. I don't even think you can run this off of this truck right now because there's no vacuum anymore, because the transmission is all ran off of the computer with the 4L80E. And this is just kind of sitting in here right now. It's not 100% done. This does have, I do have an AC kit. Obviously all this will be cleaned up. And this is a passenger side AC kit. I want to say it's not vintage air. This is from Nostalgic AC kit. So with the vintage air kit, I think it puts a big box right here, and I didn't want that because of the turbo. And then when ordering the Nostalgic kit, I forgot to order the bracket for the driver's side, which would put the AC, instead of the second alternator up top, it would put the AC up there. I did want to keep 2 alternators, and I was kind of between keeping both alternators and going with the AC kit with Nostalgic Air, and I figured I'll just figure it out, and that's kind of what I'm doing. So I still have 2 alternators. I have an AC that blows pretty cold, blows good, and then the turbo. You can see there I did put 2 spacers in there. Those are some T3 turbo flanges, and they're just kind of generic flanges that you'd get off of Amazon. I think they're like 12 bucks or 15 bucks each. So I got 2 of those just to lift the turbo enough to be above the AC compressor, and I might put 1 more. Those are I think they're 1/2 inch, so another 1/2 inch just to clear the air intake, because this is kind of close. That looks closer I think on camera than it actually is. And then obviously the turbo looks like it's mounting up pretty good there. I still have to see about the CDR, which is your it's like for your blow by and whatnot for the engine circulation. Can't think of the words right now. So that's going to be modified. It doesn't need to be removed. There's a lot of write-ups on these trucks on how to do it one way or another way. I'm kind of picking the best options that fit me. Like running the cooler lines, everyone's saying to, or not the cooler lines, running the oil lines for the turbo. Everyone's saying to run the return line down, get rid of the mechanical fuel pump. You'll hear that a lot. Put an electric fuel pump, and then just block off the where the mechanical fuel pump goes and put a little, tap a hole in there so the oil goes back. I'd like to keep the mechanical fuel pump just because I know that a lot of these electronic components tend to fail, especially the aftermarket ones, unless you get something really expensive. And I'm trying to keep it low cost right now, so maybe I'll do an electric fuel pump later. But right now the mechanical fuel pump can keep up, and I think it's overall going to be more reliable. I just changed it like 6 months ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to modify. There's a plate that goes between the block and the mechanical fuel pump, and put like weld on a little tube, drill a hole, weld a tube in there, so that'll be the oil return line. And then the oil feed line is going to come from the driver's side of the block. Above the oil filter, there's a fitting. There's a little like a bolt in there that caps off a fitting. So I'm going to take that off. We're going to run the lines from that to the turbo to feed it oil, keep it lubricated, and then the return line will be down on this side. So far, the exhaust manifold's kind of been a pain in the ass. It's probably been the more difficult part. Overall, this has not been difficult. Depends on your level of I guess your mechanical expertise or your experience. I'm not super mechanically inclined, but if you guys see my videos, you know that I do a lot of the stuff myself, and I kind of go through the learning process. And I'm kind of not, scared to mess up, as long as it's nothing that's going to blow the motor, hopefully. That's why I'm doing a turbo, because that might blow the motor, right? Makes sense. But yeah, just depending on your level of expertise and what you do and how you know how to, work on vehicles and what tools you have, it'll depend a little bit on how it gets done or how long it takes. So, just take your time, do it right, do a lot of research, check out the forums, ask on those Facebook groups, what other people have done. And you can get it done too. So that's what I got going so far. I'm also going to do the harmonic balancer, because that's starting to look a little shady after we did like a 1,500 mile trip to Mammoth and off-roaded out there, camped, came back for about a week. And yeah, so the harmonic balancer is starting to look a little shady, which is that guy down at the very bottom in the back there. I'll see about doing a video or a instructional on what I did, so you guys can see how, if that's something you want to do, if that works for you. Also coming up, I have an ORD steering brace that's going to be going in. My frame has not cracked, but sometimes when I turn, I kind of feel like, I don't know, I just don't feel as confident with the bigger tires and the lift. So not huge tires, but these trucks are notorious for cracking the frame, and I'd rather fix it now before it's cracked. So that's what I got going on. I think I got more parts in here. Some seat belts for the back. I was missing a few seat belts and didn't find that out until I went camping and people were sitting in the back. So definitely want to have those in. Excuse me. For the boost gauge for the turbo, I bought a Banks turbo. This boost gauge just comes with the whole kit. I want to say it was about 60 or 70 bucks with the gauge, which isn't bad. And this one only goes up to 15 psi, which is perfect because, like I said, I only plan on running between 5 to 8. Some people say you can run 10. I've heard people run 12. But I really would like to keep my truck on the road for now. And then, maybe blow it up later in a couple years. Not quite yet. And then besides this gauge, they say you should run a EGT gauge, which is exhaust gas temperature gauge. I'm going to run one of those whenever it comes in. I ordered it on Amazon. And hopefully we'll be in next week. I don't know exactly where I'm going to mount those in here yet, but that's kind of easy. I can, anywhere. It's not super important as long as I can see them and they're working properly. So that's what we got going on. Harmonic balancer, which is right there. Already ordered the parts. If you guys are wondering where I get my parts, kind of get them a little bit from everywhere. I kind of shop around for the price. I don't have anybody who, sponsors me or anything like that. But if anybody's out there and interested in sponsoring some parts, I'd be happy to, stay dedicated to whoever would like to do that. But in the meantime, I'm shopping for, the better prices that are out there and where I can get them. So Amazon, O'Reilly's, Napa, AutoZone, eBay, other people that, some parts you can't really find at those places, like the ORD steering kit or some of the suspension kits and parts. So I think that's what we got going on now. I did replace these lights. That was the first thing I'd ever done on the truck. Was I got these eBay little square lights that were up here forever, and they worked until I took them off. I just wanted something brighter. I got these aftermarket headlights, which I do have a video on where I got them, how to install them, and they're pretty bright. But on the trail sometimes, not even on the trail, on the highway, these are, I think, legal in California because they're in line with the headlights, whereas I can't use my light bar. I really wouldn't want to because I think that's kind of a douchebag thing to do on the highway. But yeah, for the LED lights, these are kind of nice. They're kind of like a fog light, I guess you could say. What else have I done to the truck? The exhaust down there needs to be done, obviously, with the turbo. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but this is just kind of a general catch-up for what I've done. Cut that off. They're having an exhaust guy who's going to be doing my crossover pipe. And I feel like a lot of people, when they're doing the research and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a crossover pipe and a down pipe, they don't really know what that means. So when the turbo is going to pull the exhaust gases from here, and it's going to actually be split between this exhaust manifold. So this doesn't go to the back. It goes from here to the passenger side to the turbo, and it's actually going to share the exhaust for that. So I'll get you more details on that later. And what else did we do? The transfer case leaking a little bit. No matter how tight I seal it, son of a bitch always leaks. But it is what it is. CUCV life. And yeah, I think that's about it. If you guys got any questions, feel free to comment below. If you want like a DIY or a walkthrough on something I've done or anything, please feel free to comment. If you guys would like to follow me on my Instagram, CUCV_page. There's a lot more that I post there than on YouTube, just because it's a little quicker and easier most of the time, but I'm going to try to get back on these videos. I also have an ORD quick disconnect. Works pretty good. It is a quick disconnect, but it is not a quick reconnect. I got to fight it a little bit to get it in there, but it's not bad. So yeah, hope you guys are having a great week. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and ask away. Have a good one.